Almost. Hello, everybody. You're on with City Talk Fall River. I'm Trot.
I'm Derek.
And I'm Nikki.
About 10 o'clock or so, we're going to have Dr. Edward Costa.
Hey, it's about time someone finally calls him my name, all right? I've been called him plenty of times.
We're going to have Dr. Edward Costa come on the show. There was a newspaper article, I think pretty much calling him out. You got to read it?
I got through a small section of it. I didn't get through it all, but
yeah.
I figure we'll get to it later.
We're having some, KRS-One 1984, the Bridge is Over beef going on right now between Edward Costa and somebody else out there who wants to call him out. Now, Edward has on this show, when he hosted with us when we were at BCC many times, posted about how the numbers can make things look better than they really are. He used a football analogy. He would say that if a team started off, with 3 wins and 13 losses in one season, and they came back and won 6 and still lost 10, the team is still performing very poorly. But because there was an improvement in the win-loss by 50%, they could tout that they're this great improving team, even though they're just another bad team. So what's the matter? Oh, so the thing is, in the newspaper article, they had someone who refuted those that stance that Edward Costa took. But then they took it a step further in the article, challenged him to, tried to make it look as though he was being critical of the school teachers as well. And I think that was a little bit more self-serving on the writer's part, because Edward's not coming from a place of criticizing school teachers, criticizing, the people who actually are out there trying to help kids and things like that. I thought that was a little more out of line for the writer to say something like to that level. But at any rate, Edward's going to come in and talk about it. I'm sure he's going to have his say on it. And we like to always bring the other side of the story in. So we'll reach out to, I don't know how to reach out. Maybe Edward can reach out to that person. But if they wanted to ever, state their position again, they always have an opportunity to come on the show and talk about that as well, or at least call into the show and talk about that as well. So how you doing, Nikki?
I'm doing.
I hear that Facebook activity has been going on about this trash situation with the housing.
Oh, really?
Well, you've told me this. You've told me this information.
Yes.
So what happened?
Well, we had, as of yesterday morning, Mike Mayoza had commented on my post with the one that I did of the video that showed him asking CAV and John Nunes about the trash carts at the housing properties. Up until yesterday afternoon, Mr. Mayoza hadn't heard anything. There was no conversation about that back and forth at all. He did follow up and resent the message to her, an email to Kathy Ann Viveris, to which she replied. And I want to say it word for word so that we're not quoting properly. So she said to Mr. Mayoza, he said, just heard back from the city administrator. And she said, the city has a pilot program with the housing authority to pick up the recyclables at Doolin and Oak Village. By the end of December, the city will evaluate usage, and if service is continued, these facilities will be charged the $120 household fee by agreement with the housing authority. Mm-hmm. Now, any kind of fee like that, if I'm not mistaken, would probably have to go out for bid, because it is the Fall River Housing Authority. I believe that they would have to bid this process out. I mean, it would be a new program for them to have recycling. Why wouldn't they have to bid that out? If they had to bid out their trash, I would imagine they would have to bid out their recycling.
It makes all the sense in the world.
Right. The second part of that is, now if housing hasn't been paying the city of Fall River a penny for this, that's a huge problem. A huge problem.
Right.
And on top of that, when they say they're going to charge housing a $120 fee, that sends up a huge red flag to me. The reason it sends up a red flag is because if the city of Fall River is not providing solid waste services or yard waste services, then why would they then be charging housing the same price they would be charging residents who receive city services, which would be the $120 household fee, which for all intents and purposes says it includes yard waste, recycling, and solid waste. So why would housing then pay more really than a resident would be paying for that simple service?
Makes sense.
And again, if housing hasn't paid anything to the city of Fall River for this pilot program, whether it's been going on for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, a year and a half, it means the taxpayers of Fall River have been footing that bill for housing trash. And make no mistake, housing recycling. When they take that recycling out of their trash, housing is paying less in tipping fees. So while the Fall River Housing Authority is paying less in tipping fees, the taxpayers and the residents of the city of Fall River are picking up that fee.
And regardless, you went through every single housing meeting. You went through every single document you could find. There was no mention of a pilot program.
Not one mention of a pilot program. And the big red flag, there's so many red flags. I mean, logically speaking, if there was this program going on, right, and it was inevitably going to save them money, wouldn't that be a topic of discussion?
It would have definitely been a topic of discussion.
Thought so. So, I mean, they discuss everything. So that's just...
It would have definitely been brought up in the meetings. It would have definitely been brought up in the debates. It would have been brought up all over the place.
I agree. So again, taxpayers of the city of Fall River, once again, are paying for the trash of other entities that do not put any money into the city of Fall River.
And conversely, it takes money out of people's pockets.
Sure does, especially when they're asking people to pay $120 trash fee.
Well, they did have a $6.5 million shortfall. You need to understand that.
Yeah, well, maybe if they stopped taking everybody else's trash, they wouldn't have had a shortfall.
Why is everybody being so negative?
Yeah, why don't you love your city?
Just buy the bags, pay the fee.
Buy the bags, pay the fee, and also stop asking questions.
Unless you live in housing. If you live in housing, you don't have to. You can recycle for free, man.
I feel like this is like big, like we're all into Big Brother. Just do what we say. Seriously. What was that? Animal Farm? Was it Animal Farm that was kind of the same thing?
Someone was talking to me last night about how no matter who the mayor is, they're going to have to do something drastic to cut because they're already walking into a shortfall as is. And I talked to them about, the ideas that we've always talked about, told them about Norwood, told them about what we spend on pickup. Just on pickup alone is on overtime for yard waste. Talked about how we could compost and it's not about really necessarily the selling of the compost, but it's more about the fact that we wouldn't be expending that $120 per truckload anymore. And that could save money right there. As a matter of fact, I'm willing to say, because we don't really see snow until usually around December or January, from all the way from let's say March to December or November, there's yard waste to be picked up and composted. We could probably save ourselves a ton of money, up to that $1 million that the shortfall is started to look like it's going to project. You know what I mean? So we could have probably avoided this just by that one thing alone, or at least decreased the 1.1. No, what was it? 1.3.
What the
transfer that they
1.1.
1.101.
So we would have been able to, just by that alone, we would have been able to significantly reduce that, I think, if not be over that in savings.
I think if I sat down with all the people who are in our sanitation department and we actually went through the list of the trash that gets picked up in the city, I'm almost willing to bet that residential solid waste is probably what we spend the least amount of money on within housing, within the sanitation enterprise fund.
That's crazy.
You do realize that would never happen simply because I guarantee you 85% of the people are afraid of you. And
I guarantee I may make my own list and post it anyway.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think you actually should do that. I'm not even understanding why you haven't already.
Yeah, me neither. Well, like I said, when I was going, there were some things that even, I mean, I've been looking into the trash thing for so long, and there were some things that even I didn't pick up on before. And then like with the cemetery waste, the trash that comes out of the cemeteries, you know, I feel like a jerk because I'm like, well, you know, saying how dare we have to pay for that too. But in the grand scheme of things, when you take a cemetery that's as large as the ones that we have in the city of Fall River, and think about how much solid waste accumulates after a whole year that the taxpayers are paying for, that's a problem.
And do they weigh that like they do the housing?
Yeah.
I'm sure.
You and I both know that they're not weighing much.
No, probably not. They're just taking it and toss it.
Right. Well, they're bringing that to Lewiston Street, which is what clicked to say, oh my goodness, the taxpayers of Fall River are paying for that too. So when you think, you know, when they say, oh, trash, you know, we want to stop talking about it. Well, now I know why you want to stop talking about it, because if we really discuss it, the people of Fall River are going to be really angry.
And the people who say they are tired of talking about it are mimicking politicians. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So like I've heard it. You remember Linda Pereira, maybe you didn't listen to WSAR at the time, but Linda Pereira was actually literally on Barry's show talking about how she's tired of talking about trash. Mm-hmm. There's more important things in the city to talk about. And what's funny is it's more important all of a sudden, but when you're sitting there voting to transfer $1.1 million of taxpayer money into the sanitation fund, people who privatized are now paying that.
Absolutely.
How can any reasonable, responsible, supposedly advertise themselves all summer long about how they're the people's city councilor? How do you say stuff like that?
Well, my thing,
it doesn't even make any sense.
I get really frustrated because we've heard people say we're free riders, people who don't want to buy the bag, freeloaders, free riders. These people want a free ride. They don't want to have to pay for anything.
People are paying plenty right now.
Let me just tell you, the people who don't want to pay are actually our city officials. It's our city officials, because what they're doing is they're saying, we don't want to budget for trash in the police department because then we'll have less in the police department. We want to put that in the sanitation and make everybody buy bags and pay a trash fee. We don't want to take any money out of that police department. Well, for the cemetery, it's the same thing. You go through the budget, every single department, there's not one line item for trash.
Right.
So that is a big red flag. How the hell are you saying to the residents, and when you have such a small amount of taxpayers, those taxpayers are literally footing the bill for so much trash that they didn't even think about, such as the flowers that get laid at a cemetery's grave. And here's the thing, that could be composted.
Could be.
So again, why aren't we going
As a matter of
and
fact,
really
I would
talking
assume
about this?
The majority of what you pull out of a cemetery is going to be compostable, if that's a word.
Versus being thrown away as trash. So do they really, 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 really care about how much trash we're accumulating?
Composticated material.
Oh, yes. Compostification.
Well,
just in case.
You always got to be ready, Derek.
On deck.
Yes. Hashtag on deck. I like that.
Batter up.
Nice.
You know, that's why we keep pushing the issue. It's, for me, it's not about, like you said yesterday, it's not about having although you do have Oscar the Grouch on your profile picture and as your cover page, I will say that. But it's not,
I'm obsessed. There's no doubt about it.
I was
going
to say, it's not, for me, it's not about an obsession over purple bags, trash, anything like that. It's really about planning, being ready, money, and an obligation that the government should have to protect its citizens rather than an obligation to take more from them. And they justify everything with, you want services, right? You want services, right? That doesn't mean by any means necessary. That's not how it's supposed to work. Go ahead, man.
I'm good.
You're not going to go necessary on me?
No.
Wow. All right. Surprised. But
Oh, I was just going to say, although I am obsessed, what I'm obsessed with is the fact that our officials are lying.
right.
They're
Right.
the lies that they're telling. Like I had one person say from my post, and made me laugh. Stop attacking elderly. You're attacking elderly by bringing this up.
What?
So I said, how am I attacking elderly by wanting to know who's footing the bill for the recycling in that housing.
Somebody said you're attacking the elderly.
Yes. And then I went on to say,
What the hell is wrong with people? What the
I
hell?
went on to say, attacking the elderly and the poor is making them buy purple bags or pay a monthly trash fee when the people in housing get that service for free. Do you know what I'm saying? Like for anybody. And then he blocked me, so I thought that was funny. I don't even know who it is. It was just some random.
One of those fake Neil McCauley.
No, I don't think it was a
things.
fake. I don't think it was a fake person. I'm pretty sure it was a city employee.
Attacking. That's what they do.
Yeah.
That's all the time. That's what they do. They act like you're being a bully. Like, we got this the entire 2014 from Andrew. What was his name? Andrew. What was that clown's name? Yeah, Andrew Faria, William Flanagan, Gene St. Pierre. All your bullying. Oh, okay.
Okay.
We've seen that name before.
So when I said, are you new to this group? Because if anybody, I mean, the whole city could try to say I'm attacking people. That's not going to bother me at all, because I am not attacking anybody. I'm attacking the officials who think it's okay to take money out of the pocket of residents on fixed incomes. Like when he said that to me, and all I could think of is, you do know that there are elderly people who own homes. You do know that there are elderly people who live in apartments and are on a fixed income. They're on a fixed income. So I'm not sure if it was that one or a younger version.
To me, that's just, I mean, there's no word for that, because we've just seen it so many times where someone like yourself, someone like myself, someone, like Armin Berube, for example, who goes out there and posts facts every once in a while. Back in the day, before he went crazy, Dave DeLima was another one who would post facts up there and talk about things. And what happens is, like, the people who don't have an argument, they try to get at you personally.
Right.
Right.
Well, and I kept asking him, what in my post leads you to believe that I'm attacking elderly? Because there is no, I'm not. I can't even give that any kind of credence, because I don't even know where he would pull that out of. It's not even.
They're literally looking for a way to try to play you as a bully,
right,
and someone or themselves as the victim.
Oh, either way, they can try all they want to. It's still not going to stop me. Anybody wanting to call me a bully or say I'm wrong, they're not disputing my facts. If you want to dispute what I'm saying, come back at me with facts.
He wasn't able to do that. He blocked you on Facebook,
yes.
Right? So he ran away. He made a little comment. He ran away.
He kicked and ran.
Right. So, because I'm thinking, if I was to reply to this person, I would say, so are you implying that the government right now is looking out for the elderly and Nikki's attacking this whole thing?
I shared it, and I said, sharing for anyone who missed it.
Oh, that one. Okay.
Yeah.
So my reply to them would have been, so are you implying that the government right now, the way things are set up, is actually looking out for the elderly?
Yeah, well, that's what I said. I said attacking the elderly would be charging them, like making them buy purple bags or charging them a monthly trash fee when they're on a fixed income. I mean, like, I don't know if anybody has ever volunteered for like Meals on Wheels. Right. You deliver these meals. These people are paying their rent. They're not in housing. There are many, many elderly who live in the city of Fall River who don't live in housing.
It's insane.
So for him to say that to me, I was kind of like, are you serious? Like, the individuals who are living in housing are not the ones responsible for that payment. It's housing itself. And if you read what I post, it explicitly states that housing should be paying. So again, it's just because he couldn't come back with anything specific to refute. So it was just, you're attacking. So that's why I said, are you new to this page? Like, I know I'm not.
The motivation to try to bring what you're doing down, it only makes sense, in my opinion, right? That the reason why they're trying to do this is because they have a stake in all this. In keeping the game rigged the way it is. That's the only logical thing I can come up with that makes this, that would explain someone's motivation for saying, all right, you're posting literal facts about how taxpayers are being unfairly treated in all this, but yet I still want to argue against it. It has to be because they have a stake in it. There's no other way to look at this. And for me, maybe somebody else out there has a different point of view. The phone number is 774-955-0533. Call in. We love our phone call people that come in, give us a different perspective. I like that. Barry yesterday called. I mean, we were talking about France. And
I don't give that any kind of
we're talking about France and terrorism and the whole 9 yards yesterday. And he gave us a different point of view on things. And, you know, again, didn't agree, but we didn't fight, argue, yell, and call each other names either in the process. We were able to disagree on a reasonable level. So anyone who has a different point of view, please come through and talk about it. As far as this person that like replied and blocked Nikki, telling her that she was attacking the elderly, to me, that's just something that it shows a prime example of somebody who doesn't have an argument, who is just trying to hold on to whatever they can hold on to in the discussion. I'm hoping I get.
And that's fine with me that somebody wants to do that. But again, when they do that, I don't think they realize they're not refuting my facts. Refute my facts. Like even Bob Correa to say online, to say on his radio show, oh, I spoke to people and it was a pilot. That's great that you spoke to people. Show me the factual information. Show me the actual data that you're getting to say how much money they've given the city of Fall River, if they've given anything. You know, even in my post, it says, if they are paying for it, where are the receipts? I'm not saying they're not. I'm saying that is my opinion.
Right.
But I can't state that they're not unless I have factual information.
Mm-hmm.
I do have factual information from 23 meetings that not at one of those meetings, they discussed a pilot program. Not at one, not have all the city council meetings that you've been to have you heard all this discussion about trash and really reality, this is logically speaking, all this discussion about trash, a recalled mayor, right. Trash, a new mayor, trash, he didn't get reelected, trash, and nobody at any point in the last year and a half has talked about a pilot program with recycling and housing. Come on, because there isn't one. That was a backdoor deal, a handshake thing. That's it.
And that was a last-minute scramble to try to find an excuse for
yes. Oh, what can we say?
Silva.
What can we say? It's a pilot. Oh, we can say it's a pilot program. Come on. That was never paid into. Give me a break.
Crazy.
So it just helps anybody fighting, pay as you throw, and it helps anybody fighting the $10 trash fee because hey, housing received that service for free.
Basically.
The same services. And I mean, anybody who privatized and didn't receive city services needs to see a lawyer.
It was a slick move to try to increase recycling and then act like
absolutely
pay as you throw is working. So it was a self-serving process from top to bottom.
And unless I see some kind of paper, I mean, we've got Joe Good, who I believe is one of the better reporters for the Herald News. I believe she would have picked up on that at some point. Somebody somewhere would have picked up on this pilot program.
Absolutely.
Somebody would have said something. I mean, for crying out loud, again, I'll say it. Kathy Ann Viveris and John Nunes during the last city council meeting from November 10th, 2015, when they were asked if we had any program with housing, they both didn't know. So
they were completely dumbfounded. And then when Joe Camara tried to give him a line,
which was so awesome,
Cleanway, like the whole crowd,
he was like, "That's easy. That's easy enough. Cleanway is the one who does that."
But Mike responded very wisely. He goes, "Oh, so Cleanway's using city-owned recycling bins?" There was no response.
And actually,
Joe had no response to it.
There was no response.
And actually, what I love is Mayoza did actually start off saying recycling bins. But then he corrected himself and said carts.
Oh, well, you have to make sure you're using the word carts because that's what the ordinance says.
Right. So I was pretty happy about that.
Do you remember when Joe Camara was trying to pull it off that purple bags were carts?
Oh, yeah, that was great.
That was the best.
And remember when I went and got all the definitions, the legal definitions?
That was hilarious.
Does he still believe that? I wonder.
Well, I think he was just looking for an argument.
I would love to see how thick that man's skull is.
I don't think that any of these people actually have beliefs. I just think that they try to
soulless bodies.
They just try to get things by.
Right. They're so gullible. Like that's how I look at them. Like when they say, "Oh, well, that's what we're told." Oh, okay, that's what you're told.
Well,
so no problem. All set.
It brings me back to the brilliant question that was asked at the last mayoral debate when it said, "Would you hold your department heads accountable?" Mm-hmm. Because I thought that was that your question?
It was.
Yeah, it was a brilliant question. It was a brilliant question. No, there were some pretty good questions in that debate. by so many other people that were there. But that one was the one that, in my opinion, that stood out. Let's see. Somebody's saying that they're not getting our show, but I see that we do have people on here. So
Tell them to reboot.
yeah,
What is it?
it's Celio actually.
I love Celio. I'm so glad he's back.
Yeah,
Everybody loves Celio.
Yep.
You need a little bit of Celio in your life.
Well, I was saying to Nikki earlier before we went on the air that him and Noah on the same thread, just making me laugh my butt off the entire time. There's some stuff going on in Thorpe Forward. Some personal things are going on back and forth. I don't want to mention people's names and stuff, but it's so funny that like I have to like pull away from the computer a little bit every once in a while because it's just way too funny. So I'll just say that much.
It reminds me of a scene from Horrible Bosses.
When you have free time, go on internet and just watch people interact. It's funny sometimes. It's almost like people watching, right? Like
it is. It's straight up people watching.
I'm going to be doing the people watching soon because Black Friday is coming up. It's around the corner. And it's one of my favorite times of the year because people go crazy, right? Black Friday. Is it because I said Black Friday? Yeah, probably. But
Just go to Walmart every day.
no, this is on steroids,
It
man.
doesn't matter. Just go to Walmart.
If
wanna
you
be
go to
people watching,
Walmart-
you're just gonna get disgusted.
If you go to Walmart on Black Friday, like you have to bring protective gear.
I don't go to Walmart any day. Never mind Black Friday. I don't
have a
shop
problem.
there.
I don't have a problem with Walmart.
I could see Trud doing this in.
You should have a
gear.
problem with Walmart.
Where I got all my signatures for all my petitions.
That was outside of Walmart, not inside.
Oh, I see.
It's okay then.
I gotcha.
See what I'm saying?
Sure. What's wrong with Walmart? Tell me.
Do you really have to ask?
I'm lost.
Okay, since Walmart has come into the city of Fall River, how many local businesses have been down?
I don't have the numbers.
Okay, I don't have the numbers either, but if you're just looking around, look around. Do you think that the city of Fall River is much better off since Walmart came in as far as other businesses are concerned?
I think people like Walmart.
I know people like Walmart because
I don't know. I
it's
don't think
cheaper.
people are complaining.
It is technically cheaper, but they can afford to be cheaper.
I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea what business went under since Walmart came in. I thought we needed business in Fall River.
Shaws went under. Like
There's-
one of the-
Because of Walmart though.
Well, one of the Shaws went under. Let's see what other ones have.
Bradley's took off, but I mean, it was a little bit before that. But
Yeah.
you had Ames that was
We're
there.
We're not talking about just since it's come into the city. We're talking about since the creation of Walmart.
Well, I want to know if it was a direct effect.
On Fall River, I think so.
I don't know.
I do. I believe so.
I mean, believe so, think so, but I mean, was that the direct reason? I mean, we have to have something tangible, no, to really blame Walmart for that. But wouldn't we?
It doesn't talk
Like Kmart seemed to do okay.
Doesn't stop.
That
people-
was right on
Kmart
the side.
actually wasn't really doing okay. They were about to go under until Walmart left that location. And then people started going
But
into
isn't that
Kmart.
that's competition? Why would we hate Walmart for
It's
competition?
not about the competition part. There's a lot of facets to, and it's not just Walmart. I'll say Stop and Shop too. I'm not fond of the way that they hire part-time employees only. And I know I'll get some people say, oh, I work full-time. Okay, but how long did it take you to get full-time at these places? Because they don't offer full-time right off the bat. Most employees they hire, it's part-time. Most employees that they hire are on government services and will always be on government services because they're never going to give them enough to get off them.
I know the one thing that I have a problem with. Well, I didn't have a problem with it, but I know that there was a problem going on about how they weren't providing healthcare. They were kind of like being shysty to the workers.
Yeah, but they'll lower the hours so that they don't have to legally provide that.
Right.
I mean, I know a bunch of people who work at Walmart and they love it, but it's still not enough for them to make it. You know what I mean? Like for me, when I would much rather go to a local business to make my purchases, like to go to the market. I'm not going to Stop and Shop. I actually go to Amaral's.
Oh, I see.
Where I might pay a little bit more for like my side dishes, but I'm paying less and I'm getting fresher meats.
Mhm.
But I know the money is staying in the city of Fall River.
Yeah.
Going into Stop and Shop, that's such a big corporation. I'm big on local businesses. I like local
There's
business.
nothing wrong with that. I just didn't realize that businesses were shutting down because of Walmart. I didn't know. I didn't know
think-
directly that was.
I mean,
happening.
I don't have the stats. I'm not going to lie. It's not like I have the stats in front of me, but being from Fall River my entire life, seeing what I saw growing up versus what I see now.
Mhm.
When Walmart opened and started its business in Fall River, other small businesses went right out of business.
Because I'm pretty sure before Walmart got to the Harbor Mall was dying. It was dying.
No, I wouldn't say right when I would say that was after Walmart got in there.
I don't know. I saw some things dying over there. I mean, they didn't have the movie theater. That wasn't there when Walmart moved in.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
All right, so but how's Walmart stopping? How's Walmart
It's
stopping
not.
the movie
You
theater?
brought up the movie theater. I
No,
didn't
no.
bring
What
up
I'm
the
saying
movie theater.
was there a direct effect on it? No.
The
Like, it
direct
was
effect on the movie
the
theater
movie theater was
was
dying before Walmart
right,
got there.
because the owners of the mall didn't put.
right.
I believe that's the entire mall's fault. But if
Yeah.
I'm not just saying the Harbor Mall, businesses around the Harbor Mall. If you go back to the where Ames and all that was, McCrory, you had McCrory. What other ones did we have? They had so many different stores.
Mhm.
And when Walmart came in, it knocked down those businesses.
They eat them all up. Let me see. I got a message here.
I do understand that some businesses have opened in those places, but they're not like they used to be.
Correlation does not equal causation. We got a message from Liam, my friend Liam, our friend Liam. He's called into the show before. No, I'm sorry, Nick. I just don't.
That's
think
fine.
that
You don't have to be
causing-
sorry.
Causing people to shut down, but you do have to compete, just like Uber right now, right? So you have Uber, and I actually just talked to somebody last night who's an Uber driver.
Nice.
Yes. This is a $50 billion corporation, right? I mean, it's a big business. And what they're doing is they're forcing the cab companies to compete. Because now it's a more convenient opportunity for a customer to get a ride.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have city councilors, Joe, Linda, a couple other people talking about how they need to regulate this. This is unfair to the cab companies, blah, blah, blah. I think personally, this is a company that's doing it better and is providing competition. And the other companies are going to have to compete. I'm not going to blame Uber if cab companies start to lose business. I look at that the same exact way as Walmart. It's like if they're making it more competitive, then you got to compete more. That's just the way I look at it. I'm sorry. It's the way I look at it.
Why are you sorry?
I
Don't
don't
ever
apologize.
don't be
I'd
apologizing.
be apologizing.
You don't need to be apologizing.
POL apologizing.
Wow.
What, man? Derek's quiet today.
He's
This-
extra
this-
quiet.
He's doing more talking.
This is what happens when you only get like an hour and a half of sleep.
So all right. So everybody who's listening, I think that the move to Saturday is going to be better for all. Well,
Yeah.
at least 2 out of 3. How do you feel about it? You haven't really said anything. You haven't said anything,
It's
Nikki.
been a hot topic for the last couple of days.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it's such a hot topic. It's okay.
Well, some people know what I do for a living, and the schedule can be hectic at times. And I know your schedule, Derek, can be hectic at times.
It's getting kind of hectic. It's
Right.
getting kind of.
Are we? The move isn't bothering you though, right?
No.
No, like everyone at the crib is good.
Yeah.
Good.
They don't control me.
Uh-oh.
They don't own me. No. But anyway.
Nice.
No, it's good. I mean, I don't have to find a babysitter because I could take my daughter with me if I had to.
Oh,
so
yeah,
it's
she can
not.
chill. Yeah.
So
I don't have Netflix, but she could still chill over there.
Junior correspondent.
Oh yeah.
actually, not that it wouldn't have to be my child, but what I do think is a good idea. Look at me. Idea. Would be a good idea to maybe get some of the students from the Fall River School Department and see how they feel about school. We could speak with my daughter, but I think everybody would be like, oh, that's Nikki's kid. That's why she's saying that. But I think we could maybe speak to some students, maybe have an interview, ask them some questions about how they feel about their schooling.
I would love to have.
Because we always talk about, like, it's always the administrators, it's always this person that's talking. I want to hear from the students. How did they feel?
Before I do that, and I think it's a great idea, by the way, and I'd have no problem with people calling in, or if they wanted to sit in with us, I'd have to clean my apartment a little more. But yeah, we could definitely have people from a different perspective. There's a lot of opportunity on Saturday doing a 3-hour show. Danielle, one of our probably most vocal and top rated fans, she has asked about the times and the change. This week is the final week that we're going to do Thursday and Friday at 9 a.m. We're going to do Saturday at 1 after this week. Every Saturday at 1. I could do it a little bit more like Mike, but I like Mike, and I'm not going to.
You want to be like Mike?
No, Michael Jordan, yes.
By the way, Danielle has volunteered to allow us to use her Netflix. So if we need to bring people here,
That's fantastic. Thank you. But no, seriously, and I actually reached out to Mike
HBO Go. I'm only kidding.
I actually reached out to Mike DeOliveira to see if he could sit with us on our first Saturday show. We could maybe try to get a necessary addition going on. There you go.
We're good.
All right, cool. But I feel as though I don't know if it's 100%, but I feel as though Saturday is like a bad day for Mike. I think he also has a lot of things to do. So
damn it,
it's hard to find the right schedule for everybody. But I thought Saturday was good. We could do a 3-hour show, knock it out one day out of the week rather than 2. I know that my work schedule is going to be very, there's a lot of pressure is going to be taken off my work schedule now. Because there were a lot of changes that happened after the election ended. So,
and for me, the hardest day for me to do is the Thursday morning, simply because of how my work schedule flows. I get out of work at about 8:30 in the morning, come here for 9, show ends at 11, try to get about 3 or 4 hours of sleep to go back to work for 7 at night. And then I get out of work at about 4 in the morning on Friday morning. So just that stretch of time is just. I literally have nothing other than work, sleep, show, repeat. And if there's any moment in there to actually get something to eat, that's a bonus. But moving it to Saturday, it opens that up. We're all refreshed. We're all ready to go. It gives us time for a lot of research and gives you guys a better product. So. And
see, for me, I'm like a Fall River politician. I just do as I'm told.
Rubber stamped it.
Unreal.
Well, and Nikki's gone.
I've been waiting to use that one. I actually used it in our messaging, but
that's why I was wondering if maybe
no, not at all.
That's why I was wondering.
No, man, I do the same. I clean my house every damn day, so it's like every day I do the same thing. It's only one day. The 5 days my kid's in school, 2 she's home.
So Edward Costa sent me this letter, and I want to make sure that I pull it up so that way I have it when he comes in, and we can go over this.
And Danielle, I appreciate the fact that you're just going to have to make time, quote unquote. That's legitimately what she just sent me.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. The great thing about YouTube is that they have the recordings of all the shows.
Exactly.
So you don't necessarily need to be live, although I guess if you want to call into the show, it's going to be a difference. So
yeah, that's honestly, I do go back to some of the older shows and I do listen to them, and it sometimes you miss something that people were talking about. You're like, hey, wait, we talked about that at this time? Like sometimes I zone out. We all do.
So I have this. If anyone else out there wants to pull up the page, it's a guest opinion, and the name of the article is "Let the Data Tell the Story on Fall River Public Schools Performance." And again, just to reiterate, because Edward Costa will be hopefully coming in here in about 20 minutes or so. He has on many occasions on our show when he was hosting with us, he brought up the topic of how the stats can make schools in Fall River, and how the superintendent of our school has been able to portray Fall River as an improving school area, whereas when he broke down the data and he broke down the bar of what we're using to determine how good our schools are performing, he determined that our schools are not performing very well, but the stats, because we were so bad and making just little small improvements, we've blown up the statistics a little bit to make it look bigger than it really is. So he's going to be able to explain that again. There was a newspaper article, the article I just talked about, "Let the Data Tell the Story on Fall River Public Schools." It was written by a woman by the name of Fran Cabral Roy. And she kind of, in this article, she calls them out a little bit. And I don't have a problem with her stating her opinion and standing her ground on, schools are performing well. But what I feel was a little bit of a shot at him that was unnecessary. The thing that was the issue here was her seems like she was trying to bolster up the teachers against him in this. And I don't think that Edward Costar was coming from, and I'm sure he'll speak for himself on this, was necessarily coming from a position of criticizing teachers. And I thought that was kind of overstepping the situation.
In his article, he mentioned that teachers should have more say in what happens in their classroom. That was actually a part of his article, is that the teachers are stopped from teaching the way they want to teach or the way they feel a student needs to be taught.
Yeah.
So the fact that, when I see stuff like this, the fact that she felt compelled to write this letter is very telling, because we finally have a voice saying exactly what is going on. And then we have her trying to refute that by saying, oh, it's great. Just look at the data speaks for itself. What we're saying is you've messed with the data to make it look better. So it's kind of crazy, you know what I mean? For it to come. And again, I'll say it, talk to the students, talk to the teachers, because the thing with the teachers is there are many teachers who are afraid to lose their jobs. And I'm going to say this, which I hope this person isn't angry with me. We have people who are teaching in classrooms that aren't supposed to be teaching in those classrooms. They're being moved into positions so that people who should be in those positions aren't like the payment. Like some of these people who are teaching your children are literally getting paid $10 an hour.
Yikes. I
made more at Dunkin' Donuts.
That's crazy. And
this could be why, if you notice, we say we have a hard time retaining teachers. You think that could be why? Maybe because they're not concerned with caring for our teachers or being there for our teachers. They just want to put whoever is going to be the cheapest in the position. As I said, my daughter did not have a math teacher at the beginning of the school year. 7 to 8 weeks into the school year, she still didn't have a math teacher. They finally got one. You know where they got her? They got her from the 5th grade class.
I remember you told me that yesterday.
They took the 5th grade math teacher and moved that teacher into my daughter's classroom.
So who's in the 5th grade class now?
The computer teacher.
And who's in the computer class?
Couldn't tell you.
Wow. Just like a chain reaction. I've had many discussions with one of the newly elected city councilors about the salaries of administrators. And his position is that if you want the best, you have to pay for it. My argument is, are these people the best? So that's one of the things that I have an issue with is, yes, okay, you want to pay for the best if you want to pay for the best to that person. But at the same time, are they the best? And what are you using to determine that? And that's why these statistics become more and more important. Because if we're using these statistics, remember when Sam Sutter was running for mayor, his grade on Meg Mayo Brown was a little stronger, a little harsher than when he became the mayor. When he first started it, he said, it's incomplete right now. I don't know. I'd have to know until I see things. And then when he became the mayor and he saw that the statistics, he said that I'm giving Meg Mayo Brown an A+. If you guys remember that. Mm-hmm. You guys remember that?
Yes.
He gave Meg Mayo Brown an A+. A+. So oddly enough for me, it was kind of an eye-opener for a lot of people, because that was one of those things where they were like, oh, okay, we just elected this person, and now he's already making comments that go against what we were hoping for. We'd see some better changes. If he's saying the school department and the school administrator is perfectly fine the way it is, then maybe we didn't elect the right guy, because there were a lot of people that were not happy with that A+ rating there. You know what I mean? I'm a parent. Right. Like
I am a parent of a student in the Fall River Public Schools. It's not good, guys. Right. It's really here's the thing. I will give them permission to look at my daughter's MCAS scores throughout her time in school, and you'll clearly see that things are getting worse.
A super duper popular new candidate or new school committee nominee had a nice conversation with me about how he was very upset with the math teacher situation at Durfee. He was telling me about how they had during certain parts of the day students in the cafeteria because they didn't have enough teachers to handle the situation.
It's still happening. And here's the other thing. If somebody really wants to talk, let's ask Fran Roy why so many teachers are resigning.
Well, you know, it's interesting because I'm trying to read, and here's the thing. I try to, you know me, I try to find the fairness in all this. Try to find the fairness in these things, and I'm looking at Ed's article, okay? Now, Ed was quoted in the article by Fran Cabral Roy, right? So first I'm going to read Edward's part, and you tell me if he was criticizing teachers and all this, or how you can derive a criticism of teachers and all this. He said, yes. Are the majority of schools underperforming? Yes. Do we have pockets of excellence? It's one of his favorite quotes. Yes. Is growth a good thing? Yes. How does growth happen? And he said, you go from very low to not so low. That's the analogy that we used with the football team, right? If a team only has 3 wins one year and 13 losses, but then they come back the next season and go 6, and 10, then they did improve. They doubled their win total. They can actually promote themselves and saying, wow, we're on the rise. We doubled our win total, but they're still a bad team.
Right.
And I think that's what his point was. And that's why at the end of the day, he said, you have to be low to have good growth, because if you're already up at the top, you have less room for growth. Mm-hmm. Statistics can be complex and they can be misleading. And I think that was a very good point. So what Fran Cabral Roy did in her article was she literally quoted him as saying, I would also like to comment on Costar's implication that it's easier to go from very low to low. If you are high, there's less room for growth. She says, first, I implore him to ask any of the 800 plus teachers if they believe this is a true statement. See, right off the top, like that response does not directly go at his point. It tries to gather teachers against him.
Yeah, but if you actually go and talk to teachers,
they'll probably agree.
If you go and you talk to the teachers, they will tell you that the school's not doing what they should be doing. I mean, this is as a parent.
Actually, I think I believe that in a perfect world where there's no repercussions, the teachers will say that. However, in this school system, if you were to ask the teachers' honest to goodness opinion of what is going on, most of them will say not one word because they are afraid of the retaliation.
Right.
So
I agree.
So therefore, that is an absolutely bogus statement stated by this person. It's a bogus statement that she knows no one's going to go up to these people because they're not going to talk.
But what's crazy is the teachers do talk to parents.
Exactly.
They absolutely talk to parents.
Because the parents know that, they know the parents aren't going to go to the school department and say, well, this teacher said this. Because then what happens? When a teacher speaks up, what's going to happen? They're going to probably take that teacher, they're going to put them in a school that's completely horrible, make the teacher's life miserable until they leave. Here's
the other thing I would like. I would like within the school department. A little birdie had told me that all it takes is 3 years worth of teacher evaluations that, like, say needs improvement. Like if they need improvement for 3 years, they can be canned without the union getting involved. Now, my theory was, okay, well, in the last year and a half, I've seen many teachers come in and out of Henry Lodge. So it dawned on me, are there teachers that the city of Fall River is trying to get rid of? 1. And 2, do they send those teachers to the South End when they want to get rid of them? So I'd be interested in knowing, out of all the teachers in the South End, how many of them do very well on their evaluations and how many do poorly on their evaluations. That's another thing I'd like to see.
So she continues on to say, to assume so discounts the complexity of teaching the most challenged of students, especially in the urban district. As someone who has professional experience in the area of social emotional skills, I assume Costar would agree with the practical wisdom of our staff. So now the second part, when she goes into the metric student growth percentile, she talks about how everyone should have the same opportunity for growth, and that in math, at least, there was more growth from our students than in charter school or with the rest of
not my student,
or the exact state average at 50 and above state average for mathematics 54. So
I should have brought my daughter's MCAS. We just got them.
But the point that I'm getting to here is that in the first part where she tries to talk about the 800 plus teachers, if they believe that's a true statement, to assume so discounts the complexity of teaching the most challenged students. That point, she's looking for an emotional response. She's a teacher in mathematics education. Mm-hmm. She has a master's and she has a PhD in math. I mean, she's up. She knows her math.
So
right?
Can I ask a question then? If she knows her math, why hasn't she gotten in the classroom?
So I just want to make this point real quick though. Her response to him with this was, in my opinion, unnecessary, because what she's trying to do is shore up the teachers and get an emotional response out of the teachers that Edward Costar is taking this position, this very basic position that if you start low, you have more room for growth. And if you're already high, you have less room for growth. To me, that was a very basic statement to make. It shows that our schools are not performing well, so we do have opportunity for growth, and we have opportunity to manipulate those statistics. That has nothing to do. What he said had nothing to do with criticizing those 800 plus teachers. No. So I just felt like she was out of line with that piece. Now, her second piece, I think, honestly, because she brought statistics to the table, she brought some things to the table, that was more of a valid point that she could bring to the table as an argument.
But being a math person, I mean, I'm not going to say I have the qualifications that she has in math. I really don't. I graduated UMass with a minor in math. All right. I mean, I have a pretty damn good idea of how that crap works. I also have a very good idea on how statistics work. Statistics, you can skew 98% of the time to make it look good for you. I mean, whenever you hear someone say out of a pool of 500 people, we took 10%. Now, what they don't tell you is, were those 10% random? Were they based on you reviewing something? Were they based on you being looking at a sheet of paper and saying, depending on how they answered a few questions, they got chosen for that little section? They don't tell you that. Okay, so you can make statistics say whatever you want based on what you want them to say. So I automatically disqualify any statistic without knowing what the basis of the statistic is on. So that whole section of the article is completely void. That's fact. So
I'm just saying, at least she brought something more than just trying to get an emotional response to the table, right? No, real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
No, real quick. I think what you're saying is we don't know how they came about these, quote, growth improvements.
Correct.
Right? Now we've heard parents, and I know that we've had this discussion before, about how certain districts started to change a little bit in order to make things look better.
Yep.
So this comes down to functional. What have we seen functionally change to make sure that these statistics are valid, right? We have to know what the process is. We have to know what Meg Mayo Brown, what the teachers, what principals, what they did to make sure that these growth numbers are not just pretty, but something that we can build upon and a foundation that we can sustain ourselves upon, you know? And again, I think there's simply more that needs to be brought to the table. What we know for a fact is overall, our schools are not performing very well. You know what I mean? And we need to know what structurally and functionally do we do to improve these statistics, not just come up with these statistics. You know what I mean?
When your school is at the 20th percentile and you increase 10%, you increase to the 30th, you've risen everything up by 50%. but that still means 70% of all the rest of the schools are better than you. It's now you're just not 80% isn't better than you. Now it's only 70%. There is still a fundamental problem in the way that they're measuring all this.
Which is funny because it's like saying it's cool to pass a class with a D.
Passing is passing.
Now, there's another piece to this that I think she brings to the table that I think at least can solidify her argument a little better is the third layer of data. Consider the fiscal backdrop for the past few years. Flanagan and Sutter had problems keeping up with net school spending, right? They did. Under the leadership of Meg Mayor Brown, public schools have vastly improved the educational outcomes. But plus faith in vastly. That's a term that I don't like. Vastly.
Yes.
Because now we're again looking at 2 points this, 4 points that, this point that, this point that, and saying vastly improved.
Right.
That's a problem for me. And again, you want to know functionally what's going on. You want to know exactly what these leaders, these superintendents are doing, particularly to make these numbers look the way they do. You know what I mean? And we're not getting that information.
Which goes back to my point in saying, if you're going to use statistics, tell me the criteria for the statistic.
And I'd like to know the statistics of teacher retention.
You know what? You're never going to see it. You're never going to see it, because if they were to try to give you that, they would be first of all, I think they would be massively disgusted at themselves for what kind of retention they have. They wouldn't even be able to know what to do with that statistic, and I don't even think they can actually fudge around that statistic to make it look good. So that's why you never hear it. I'm like I said, I am not at the level of math that this person is. I don't have a doctorate in mathematics. I don't plan on ever going back to school to get a doctorate in mathematics or a doctorate in anything, because honestly, I don't need it for what I do. But if you're going to start talking math to someone that has an idea of what math is, specifically statistics, any stat, anytime you have a statistics, they say based on this pool of whatever, with a plus or minus percentage of error,
margin of error.
Thank you. Margin of error. That is what this whole statistic is based off of. That's not listed here. So it's automatically completely void of me even wanting to read the next 4 paragraphs.
Right.
So I'm going to read the next 4 paragraphs.
Oh, you can.
But as far as you just asked me a question.
No, I didn't ask you a question. What I wanted to say was, when she's giving off the stats, like when she's saying the charter schools aren't doing better, or when she's trying to compare it to the charter schools.
Yes.
Let's remember, like, I want to know, when they're comparing the students at the 2 schools, are they using students that have only attended charter schools, like their stats, versus the ones that have spent the majority of their education in Fall River public schools and then transferred over to the charter schools? Because then those grades would then fall back on the Fall River school department and not the charter school. So if you really want to give me stats, it better be of students that have only attended the charter schools
to gain a true performance.
Right.
Level. Gotcha.
Thank you. That was the point that I wanted to make, and I appreciate you bringing it up. When they made mention of the fact that 41, I believe it was 41% showed a higher median of the SGP. What they failed to mention is the fact that they don't tell you what the average is prior to any of this. So if you have students that are at a 63 at an average of 63%, and 50% of them get above that, so that means all they have to do is get to 64 and above. Then that's a big difference than an average of people that are maybe at 72%.
Absolutely.
And people that have to go above that. So that, once again, that is the whole point. The statistic is completely skewed.
And
in their favor.
What you just got done saying shows Edward Costar's position even more so, that when you're low, you have more room for growth. You can actually tout those growth numbers a little more frequently and higher than you can if you were already high. If you're in the 80s and you stay at the 80s, you didn't have a lot of growth, but you're still overall performing very well. No, I mean, I get it. But I want to, me, I want to make sure that I read this article, give it the credence that we're looking for. And again, send out the the line of communication to Fran Roy, if she wants to talk about this in any way, shape, or form, to have a format that they can actually express their opinions. And again, obviously, we always have Edward Costar on, so just to let that person know that they can always come on and talk, or they can call in and talk. The phone number is 774-955-0533.
Now, the one thing I want to make clear is that I am not trying to discredit Fran. I'm not just trying to discredit Dr. Fran here. I'm really not. I just have my beliefs in the fact that when you try to throw numbers out like that, you can do whatever you want with them. You know, the funny thing is, if you go online, you'll always find a different percentage of it'll say X%, whatever number percentage of statistics are made up. Whether it's 54.3, 70 point, doesn't matter, because that's the truth. You can make up whatever you want at any time. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, if you don't quantify what you're starting with, the numbers will never make sense. It'll look good on a news article, on a newspaper article, because would I rather have 50% improvement, or would I rather have 40% improvement? Well, of course I want 50% improvement.
Come on in.
But
come in.
That's it.
Ed, we make it like cheers. Ed.
Oh, we got a message. Hi, Edward. Hey, Edward just walked in the door. Cuss and Henry Lord are like night and day. I'm not going to say who the person's name is, but their son is in the 98% percentile based on NCAS. He transferred to Cuss from Henry Lord. The kids in his experiences at both schools are completely different. And again, that's the other piece of this entire puzzle, is we're not factoring in. Oh yeah, we went right into it. We're not factoring parental input into all this, right? And that's the biggest thing, is we're going to only look at statistics, and statistics that can be manipulated to say that the performance of the school is on this level, when we have a school committee policy that stifles parents from being able to express their concerns and even criticisms of the school system. So if you have that, how can we even sit here and only look at statistics in any capacity and say, oh, yep, vastly improved?
You can't. That's the problem.
You can't do that.
And, I wish you were here about 10 minutes ago, but that's okay.
We have new school committee member, newly elected school committee member, Edward Costar, on the show.
It's good to be home.
Now, Ed, I've been going through the article by Fran Roy, and I'm trying to go through it line by line.
Not easy to understand, is it?
Well, no, it is for me. I mean, for us, it was pretty easy to understand, right? We got it.
You can understand it, but I don't agree with a lot of it.
Right? He's like, Derek's he's amped up. He's like, I refute the next 4 paragraphs. Right? And we let that go, because that's what we do here. We try to, if you have an opinion, let it go. I'm trying to stay in the middle, but there were 2 things that I saw in here that I simply cannot agree with, that she should have never even went there, as they say on the Jerry Springer and all the other shows, on the daytime shows. She shouldn't have gone there. Look it. Very low. If you are high, then there's less room for growth. It's a very true statement. If you're very low, you have more room for improvement than a person who's up. There's just no way around that.
By the way, I just want to say that when I made that statement, and it's not exactly a direct quote. I didn't exactly say that. My direct quote was a little bit different.
I have it right here. Yep. But I have your article right here.
Yeah. But I was referring to the test scores in schools, so that if you're at the 2nd percentile, how do you become a level 1 school? You go from very low to not so low. So I looked it up today just to make sure I had the data right. And I looked up the 2012 scores for one of our schools that was at that time at the 11th percentile and was level 4. Now it is on the 36th percentile, and it is 34th percentile, and is level 1. So you went from very low to still or low to not so low, but still low, 34th percentile, and you became level 1. That's what I meant. She kind of made it sound like I was talking about individual kids. I know when a teacher's working with a child, an individual child who's very low, it is not easy to get them up, move them up, and have them have improvement. I understand that. A lot of what I read there was sort of like I read it as an effort to get the teachers to kind of turn against me.
That's exactly right. Now that's what
That
I
ain't gonna
got.
happen.
That's exactly what I got when I
Au
read this.
contraire.
There may be some. There may be some.
But that's
Well,
exactly
you
what I got
watch
when
what
I read
happened to
that,
the
right?
school committee meeting Monday night.
It looked as
Yeah.
though
I have a prediction from that.
it looked as though they were looking for an emotional response
Yes.
when they said this. That's what sits with me on this
Yes.
is that I implore you to ask him, Edward Costa, any of our 800 plus teachers if they believe that's a true statement. Well, if the school is performing low, it's
Yeah, well,
performing low.
If you
It's
take
not-
it the way
it's
I
not a
intended it,
shot at
that's
anybody.
true, but
Right.
that's not the way she said it. She
Right.
said, ask any teacher if they agree that working with a child who is very low and getting a child from very low to not so low is easier than getting a child who is high to higher. They'll tell you that you don't know what you're don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
Of course, if we're talking about a child, but I wasn't talking about a child. I was talking about the school scores. That's what I was talking about. I broke that on City Talk, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
This is stuff we talked about here.
Months ago.
They tried to
We've been
use
talking about it for months.
they tried to use your name on more than one occasion on WSAR or wherever.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, Jordan used Edward Costa's name. That's a shot against him."
Oh yeah, I know. Jordan actually, made a comment on my letter.
But again, another emotional response, though, right? It's like they're looking.
They
they're
got
looking for-
to discredit me.
It's look instead of arguing the point that you're making, line by line, instead of coming up with facts to refute the point, it's let's try to get an emotional response.
And that's going to be the game plan, and that's the game plan all along. And the reason that I wrote my letter, because believe me, I was being advised by my most trusted treasurer of my committee, who's my wife, and others. Don't let them bait you. Don't let them bait you. I heard on WSAR where they were even trying to almost invite me to come on, and I was not going to do it. I'm not going to go on WSAR because WSAR is going to basically pick and choose and distort and put me in I'm just not going to do it. But then when they started saying constantly, if she leaves, and she's going to take her whole team with her because of the newcomers, and the newcomers have a vendetta, and the newcomers are playing a political football. I never played politics in my life, obviously. Never in my life. It just got under my skin, so I had to retort. And I was going to Maine for the weekend, and I jotted that. I put that guest opinion in because I know how to write, and I've written guest opinions before. In fact, I had one that was supposed to go in last weekend that they had to hold on. That was a kind of a, I don't want to say it's a puff piece. It's one of my old nostalgia pieces, right? That might actually be going in this weekend. I don't know if it will or won't, but I replaced it because I said, no, I cannot let this go unresponded to. I said, and I'm going to do it. And I put it in Friday morning, and they put it in the paper Saturday. They put it electronically by 4:00. I was in Maine, and I read where they put it in, and that's what it was. And basically, I just had to respond to being called a political vendetta because it's not true. The truth is two things. One, I had to list 1, 2, 3, 4, including the data piece, which was piece number 3, which had to do with the whole idea. And I didn't on purpose use percentiles because I didn't want to make it hard for the average person to understand. So I said I tried to be fair. And if anything, some of my friends said I was too fair, that I could have been harder and harsher, and I tried not to be. So I said, it is possible statistically for there to be two different measures, and both of them can be true. I think I said it's possible for two truths to exist. So the other side is not lying when they talk about level ones, but there's another bit of data. So I try to do it that way. Have we made improvement? Yes. But are most of our schools underperforming? Yes. So I tried to make it as fair and as balanced as I possibly could. And somehow that was made to appear as, I love the word that in her response, she says, the innuendos. There weren't any innuendos. I stated it right there. I mean, an innuendo to me is like a secret, coded agenda. I just came right out and said it.
I mean, in your article, you don't beat around the bush on it. You say yes. I don't think there's an innuendo when you say a direct yes or no. It's fact or
Yes.
false.
And you can have both facts depending on what you want to look at. As an example, now, one of the things I also said was in point 4, and some people might say I'm a conspiracy theorist, has to do with the state's complicity in all this. And I've witnessed it personally. And I mean, I've been there when they tried to explain to districts how to spin the results. I remember going up to the speaker and asking her a question alone after that meeting at Stonehill College. And I've seen that every year. The first year when they reported MCAS data, there was actually something called, are you ready for this? Failure. They got rid of that real quick. Then it became needs improvement and proficient. And then now they got student. So it's confusing. Now, the point I made was sometimes statistics can be complex and confusing. When I read her article, to me, it was complex and confusing. I had to read it several times to understand what student growth profile was. And there's one key line in the student growth profile that basically she doesn't explain. And I just need someone to explain this to me. She said the metric basically that's fair for everybody is student growth profile. And student growth profile she defines as somebody is compared to like peers. Okay, what does that mean, like peers? To me, it means, Nikki, that if I'm low and you're low, they compare my growth with your growth.
Right.
Now, if Derek over there is like high, they don't compare me with him. They compare me with you.
Right.
So if I grow faster than you, well, that's good. I'm glad that I grew faster than you, but like you're still comparing low to low. You're not comparing low to high.
But that was one of the things I was saying before, where I said that statistics can be flawed, because now with that explanation, if I'm going to group all of the D+ students together and I'm going to get their growth,
And compare them.
and I'm going to group all the C students together and get their growth, and B students together and A students together, when it's time to make the comparison between the D's and the A's, there's no comparison to be made there. So if you're going to get an average, put them all in the damn pool.
Which is what percentile does and why nobody reports that except us.
We have an article here from 2010. Dear Massachusetts Educator, for the first time, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education is publishing MCAS growth data on the parent-guardian reports for students in grades 4 to 8 and 10. I want to take this opportunity to explain the MCAS growth model and what it can tell you about student progress in English language, arts, and math. For a decade, MCAS scaled scores and performance levels have answered the question, how much has this student achieved compared to the state's grade level learning standards? The new growth score, called Student Growth Percentile, answers the question. How much did a student grow over the previous years compared to their academic
peers? So there you go.
So SGP are percentiles ranging from 1 to 99, calculated by one person's history of MCAS scores to the scores of all the other students in the state with similar history of MCAS scores.
So a low is compared to a low,
Right.
A medium is compared to a medium, and a high is compared to a high. And we are number one in growth.
We refer to this group of all students with similar score histories as an
I don't have a
academic
PhD in math, Nikki.
peers. In simple terms, students earning high growth percentile answered more questions correctly in the 2010 MCAS test than their academic peers. Conversely, students earning low growth percentiles answered fewer questions correctly than their academic peers.
Jeez.
So if you
Can you link this article?
Of course, well, it's actually in her. She put this
What
link
she linked
in
it?
her
Oh, she linked it.
letter.
There you go.
She did.
so
Must
okay.
not have read it
So-
before she linked
No, I think that they believe this. I think you become so immersed in this that you just, it's like
She
you
literally
don't understand.
proved your point.
That's what I
Ed.
thought.
She literally proved
That's
your
what I
point.
thought.
Because your point wasn't about criticizing teachers, criticizing students that are struggling. Your point was if you start low, you have more room for growth.
That's what I said.
She just showed that is a true statement.
Right.
no,
it.
Ed,
Wow.
Now,
Good
Ed.
job.
Ed,
Nobody cares
my-
because I'm going to tell you, here's the problem. The problem is, okay, now it gets really freaky. Now I have sources within the school system, which I will not reveal, who have said to me that on Friday, there was a meeting held with Fran Roy and principals. We don't know the subject matter of that meeting, but somehow the message got from principals to teachers that somehow I am the enemy because I am diminishing the hard work that they do by what I'm saying in these articles. And it has got a lot of teachers who've been very supportive of me,
Yes.
very upset with me. And I can understand perfectly how that happens. 'Cause
Emotional
they-
response,
yeah,
Ed.
they already live in kind of an atmosphere of fear. It's what I've run on. When I would walk around the street and campaign, or I'd be at a restaurant, teachers would literally come up to me. They would look over their shoulder. I mean, exactly, look to the left, look to the right, look to me, and whisper in my ear, "I'm with you." They were afraid.
Mhm.
So of course these teachers, if they're told that I'm the bad guy, are going to come out and support. I predict at the school committee on Monday, there will be a cadre of people going to the mic on citizen input. It'll be interesting to see what agenda item it has to do with. It must have to do with the superintendent's contract. And they will be going up there basically doing two things. One, we need Meg Mail Brown in the office. And two, all of this stuff from the newcomers, I don't know if they'll mention me by name. I would doubt that they would do that. But they will say that these newcomers we work hard and they're putting us down and they're telling us that improvement is no good. And I'm telling you, and they'll have stories. I'm telling you, that's what's going to happen next. And people will respond to that emotionally. And nobody has been more supportive of teachers than me. What's the number one plank that I ran on? One. Parents was two. One was empower teachers. Let teachers teach. That was one. Get off their backs. Let them look at kids and find out what it is that kids need. I would be happy. You know what I support? Something that I didn't even know existed until a month ago. House Bill 340. You know what that is? House Bill 340 is a bill right now that's in the Education Committee of the House to put a 3-year moratorium on all standardized testing. No standardized testing in the state of Massachusetts for 3 years, where teachers would be free to teach and not worry about student growth profiles and not worry about all of these scores.
That was my next question to you, because when you said, empower the teachers again, that made me wonder, are they hampered by the state?
They are. But because I think that the state is kind of complicit in this. And it's no surprise to me that they would be supportive of anybody who would be complicit with what it is that they want. I'll tell you how complicit it is. This is, to me, unbelievable. Okay, I've had no communication between the superintendent's office and the superintendent and myself since I was elected. I've been around a long time. Every superintendent I've ever seen, when a new school board person comes on board, they call to congratulate them or say, let's work together, or let's work out our differences or something. I kind of waited for that to happen. I didn't think it was my place to call her. Mm-hmm. I've never been contacted. Other newcomers have been contacted. I'm the only one who hasn't. All right, so that's fine. Okay, I'm a big boy. I have been contacted by she used to be called the clerk, the administrative assistant for the school committee, who I've known is very friendly, and we've been very friendly in the past. And she sent me a binder by courier delivered to my house. I found it when I came back from UMass yesterday, this thick. School department rules and policies. Some of the policies I know, I wrote them, but some of them are not. And some of them are brand new. And it says things like, you can't visit any school. You have to get permission from the superintendent before you go to the school, and they will have somebody meet you at the school and follow you.
Jeez.
Okay. Now, I've been told that, but I didn't believe it. You know, for 30 years, Nikki, I went any place I wanted to at any time. I always saw the principal first. I'd see the principal and I'd say, hey, I'd like to go down to the 5th grade because this child has some problems. Talk to your teacher. Is that okay? I never had, well, I don't say never. I had a principal, Henry Lord, one time made me sit on the in-school suspension bench. But other than that one time, she did. Yeah, the new school, yes. She had me sit at the in-school suspension bench, and I had to wait with the kid who was being suspended before she would talk to me.
No shock.
Yeah, that's the only time that happened. But other than that, I've always been able to go into any school or any classroom anytime I want. I've always had a good rapport with teachers and with principals. Now, all of a sudden, like, the restrictions are unbelievable. And I think what happened was the state, a few years back, came and had somebody sit with the school committee and told them what they can and what they cannot do. The only person who argues with that is Joe Martin. He'll go into a schoolroom and he'll have his tour guide, but then he goes wherever he wants. And that's what I'm going to do.
Joe Martin.
Because I'm going to go to any school and every school. And if I have somebody there and I have to get permission, that's fine. And if they want to bring somebody with me, they're more than welcome to walk with me wherever I want to go.
As a parent, I could always do a walkthrough myself.
Well, you have more power than I do,
That's
Nikki.
right. So, but I could bring who I want with me.
Oh, good. Well, then you can bring me to Henry Lord.
How about that?
Nikki, I got a message.
But I'm not allowed. No, excuse me. I'm not allowed. That was in there too. If you ever called me with a complaint, I'm not allowed to hear that complaint. I have to refer that to the superintendent.
I got a message from one of our listeners for you. Just wanted to relate to Nikki that their son's experiences with middle school are night and day when comparing Henry Lord to Cuss. Cuss has been an amazing experience for his son, and he comes home satisfied and happy with his daily experiences and compared to Henry Lord.
Mm-hmm. My daughter has been begging me to move her to charter school.
There you go.
Doesn't surprise me.
And there's a child, a 5th grade student also at Henry Lord, who is having a very, very, very hard time. The mother has contacted the principal, the vice principal, the superintendent, and hasn't gotten anywhere.
Right.
And-
Which is one of the problems that got me involved to begin with.
And the student, like, even talking to me, and my daughter isn't friends with this student. It's just parents outside talking. And she's begging her mom to move her. And her mom is like, just hold on, just wait. But like I said, I don't know if you heard, my daughter finally got a 5th grade math teacher. However, they took she finally got a 6th grade math teacher. They took the 5th grade math teacher, put that teacher in my daughter's class, and then took the computer teacher and moved the computer teacher over to the 5th grade math class.
See, my 2 most important issues, because the computer teacher never passed her MTEL. Well, that's nice. Okay. Well, you know what though? She might be a heck of a teacher.
She is.
Yeah?
She is.
I don't hold that against someone really.
Oops.
I don't know. But anyway, my 2 most important issues have to do with empowering teachers and having to do with empowering parents. Okay. Those are my 2 important issues. Teacher retention and teacher turnover is part of that empowering teachers. We have twice the rate, according to the Herald News, of teacher turnover that other urban areas have. You don't hear that as much. What you do hear is, it's because of the money, they leave for more money. And I never heard that. I heard from teachers that they wanted to teach at charter schools. And so I did some research on that. And what are the number one reason why teachers leave schools to go teach in other schools is not money. You know what it is? Management support.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to be involved in or consulted in what's happening in the school. So my question is, do we do that? I know we're trying to do that. I have to say that the head of the FREA went with a group of teachers to a workshop out of state where they're trying to empower teachers. It's the Fonseca, empower teachers to have more say in the way the school is run. I think that's a very good step in the right direction. But is that happening at the other schools? I don't know. But the kind of turnover that I'm seeing you're telling me about at Henry Lord doesn't sound like the teachers are very involved in that. It sounds like somebody's playing chess and checkers with people and moving them around.
Funny that you mentioned that. One of the things that I learned, when I became a supervisor at where I work, one of the very first things is they go over, why do employees leave, and bunch of people always say, well, maybe the pay. No, it's not. That's a factor, but the main reason is exactly what you said. So it's not, it's being supported, having management have their back, feeling that they're being hung out to dry. So that is a very global message for people leaving their jobs. It's not the fact that they're dissatisfied with what they're making. They're not dissatisfied with the profession that they're in. They're dissatisfied with the fact that there are people that are not supporting what they want to do. And that is a very big problem, not just in the school committee, not just in the school department, but everywhere. So it's very interesting to hear that that's what school that's the problem with the school.
And the independent research that I read said that it was something like 67 to 68% of teachers basically left for those reasons, and that the pay issue was like 37%.
That's pretty much exactly what it was. Yeah. It was. I think the
and think about this too, Derek. I mean, if your issue is that you feel like you don't get enough support, are you going to be likely or less likely to respond to surveys, or likely or less likely to speak up if you think that somebody's going to be down your throat?
Of course, you're not going to want to talk.
And that's what's wrong with the school system.
It's the whole thing. It's why am I going to speak if I'm not going to get supported? That's the problem.
Right.
I feel as though like input from the citizens on the city council level, input from the parents on the school committee level, and students, by the way, that has to have its value, and it has to have a strong value. And we can't just suppress the people that have problems. It's not the way things get solved.
I feel assaulted. I mean, but when I first read that letter, I was like another letter that I read early during the campaign, I was angry. And I've kind of developed a harder skin.
Well, you know that you and I had a little bit of a discussion yesterday, and then I ended up posting it on Facebook. But just basically, let your actions do the talking.
Right.
Let their words, just bounce right off you. Let your actions combat what they're saying about you.
My only regret is that I was invited to go to the school committee meeting Monday, of course, and I found out about it, but I found out about it too late. So like, one of the things I kind of feel bad about is my classes at UMass have sort of suffered a little bit because I've been so busy with other things. And when the election was over, I said to especially one class that's having a difficult time, I said, you are now my first priority until this class is over. So they have a test coming up and they had a tough time with the last exam. I said, I'm going to give you a private study session just for you, whoever wants to attend, whenever you can do it. Well, of course, we all decided that 5 o'clock and 5:30 on Monday night was when they could do it. And I said, you've got it. So I made that promise to them. And then I find out later, of course, the school committee's at 5:30. I'm not breaking that promise. Those kids have my number one priority. So I already sent a letter to the secretary of the school committee or to the administrative assistant saying, I will be there, but I'll be there after I finish with this. I'll probably be out at 6:30. So I'm going to be there late. But that means I'm going to miss all the citizen input. I'm going to miss all the, I was going to say fun because I don't think it's fun, but I'm going to miss all of the comments that are going to be made. And I would have liked to have been there to look at each person as they step up to the microphone and say what it is they need to say.
And I think it's good that you are going to be a school committee member that values the opinions and the voice of a group of people who I feel have been suppressed by not just the school committee, but also by city council as well. You can't make complaints. They just don't want to hear it. They really don't want to hear it.
I'll tell you something else that's kind of funny. I can talk about this on City Talk because I've talked about it nowhere else.
Breaking news.
Yeah. Well, the infamous Karam letter.
Yes.
Okay. That I've talked about nowhere because I really felt during the campaign that the best thing to do is to say nothing. But when I first saw it, it kind of annoyed me. Not that I ever expected him to vote for me because I knew he wouldn't. And not that we didn't have we had a relationship. We were friendly. I went to a lot of basketball games. I'm very friendly with his brother. We got along. We always got along. I never spoke to him about anything seriously, but we always got along. I ate at BK's. But you know what?
So hold on, Ed. I just want to throw it out there that Edward is talking about a letter here that we have right in front of us, written by Bob Karam. It's an email that says, as you know, we have been working diligently to support Superintendent Meg Mayo Brown in her efforts to move the Fall River public school system forward. Meg has done a terrific job. I hope you agree. Hopefully sometime in the month of November, she will have received her new contract. When he says, as you know, we, talking about WSAR, by the way, it is very possible that there could be a change of members of the Fall River School Committee. I think it is critical that we re-elect in addition to my daughter, Melissa Panchley, of
Which,
course.
by the way, I have to stop you. I'm 100% in favor of. If it was my daughter running, I would raise money for my daughter.
Paul Hart, Bob Maynard, and Mark Costa. Collectively, those 4 people form a majority who provide great support and encouragement for Meg's leadership.
Got to stop you again because I don't have a problem with it yet. If he wants to try to raise money for other candidates, that is his right, and I have no problem with that.
I am respectfully asking you to write checks payable to the committee to elect Paul Hart, the committee to elect Mark Costa, and the committee to re-elect Robert Maynard.
Can I take a wild
That's
guess?
what I had a problem
Can I
with.
take a wild guess that this is where you're going to have the problem?
Right. Because then to me, that's sort of like, I don't know how to say this. It's like almost like intimidating. It's almost like bullying.
Coercing.
Yeah.
Right.
Checks for $50 to $100 would be very helpful to their campaign. Our business and professional community had a lot to do with the support Meg now receives from both the school committee and the city council.
That said a lot to me, that line right there, because he did mention the city council as well. So what happened is nobody just released that letter that he sent around. That email wasn't one that was released, but we know there is one. Thank you.
I believe it is critical that we re-elect the members I have mentioned above so that Meg continues to have the support necessary to make the difficult decisions and create a wonderful atmosphere for our Fall River students. Please send checks to my office, and I will make sure that those candidates know of your generosity and support for high-quality education. Sincerely, Bob Karam.
Doesn't it sound like one of those commercials that's raising money for like other countries.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds
Yeah.
like.
Send $1 to
All right. So here's my thing.
So that was, I needed the public to understand that
understand.
this is the letter we got from Bob. Not we didn't
you know,
get it,
and
but
we're
that
not
was
breaking
out
news
there.
on this letter. It was on television. That's where I saw it. CJ Ferry reported it on Channel 95, and I saw it. And then it was on the internet, and most people who were on the internet saw it. A lot of people knew about it. I didn't want to comment on it. My initial reaction was I was annoyed. Not that he would raise money for his daughter, like I said. I would do that. Not even that he would endorse other people. I expected that. I knew he wasn't going to vote for me. That's okay. But when he started to ask checks coming to him and for them, and if he would have said, send the checks to them, hey, I don't have any problem with that. But when he said, send the checks to me, not me, Ed Costa, me, Bob Karen, that annoyed me. It upset me. Now, fast forward to like right now, and as of maybe 2 weeks ago, I'm not annoyed with it anymore. You know why? Because I'll bet my life that his daughter did not know about that letter going out. There's no way that she knew about that. I mean, I don't know this for a fact. I've never spoken to her, but I don't think she knew about that letter because that hurts her. That hurt everybody. It helped me. It helped Paul Coogan. Okay. But it didn't help those people. It was a mistake. And I know, I would bet, I've never spoken to her about it, nor will I. But I bet she didn't know about it. Okay. And now the final thing I want to say is this. Here's how I feel about it. As a father, I ask myself the question, how many times did I jump in and try to help Holly or Amy with what I thought meant well, because I thought was best, this is the best thing to do, when they would look at me and say to me, Dad, shut up. What are you doing, Dad? You know, leave me alone. Let me handle my own life. I don't need that. And I said to myself, that's the kind of mistake I would have made. You know, maybe not that degree. Maybe I wouldn't have done it that way. But a lot of times in life, I jumped in to help my kids because I thought it was the right thing to do. And I was going to fix their problem. And I was going to solve things and make it the way I wanted it to make it. And I should have stayed out of their lives and let them make the decision. So I guess as a father, one father to another father, I'm not mad at them anymore.
Before Kanye Gate
That's how I feel
occurred.
Which makes no sense, but that's how I feel.
Before Kanye Gate occurred on WSAR, I listened to WSAR quite frequently to listen to, you know, the other side, right?
There's another thing.
Now, Now, when all this was going on, when Sam Sutter was running against Jazel Correa and Jazel turned down WSAR, Correa. So when that was going on and he turned down their debate, they went on a rampage. Every show was a smash on Jazel Correa. Bob Correa's show, definitely Sense and Nonsense. They just smashed on Jazel. The callers, they would hang up on, what? Can't hear you, sorry. They hang up on anybody that had anything good to say, and they just let people just smash all day, to the point where, I mean, it was just tangible at the desperation that was going on. From the WSAR show. They were trying so hard to hold on to whatever it is, whatever influence that they felt they had. That email or that mail, that letter was not a surprise because of the long line of desperation that kept developing along the way.
They called me a racist.
Uh-huh.
They called me a racist in WSAR, Dr. Mike.
Yep.
Called me a racist because when Jordan came to the Halloween party, I didn't call him out.
Oh, my.
When Jordan came to the Halloween party, and we were there, and most of us were there, I came as Willie Nelson. I had my little dreadlocks, and I had my guitar, and I was kind of mingling with the older folk. And mostly, for the most part, I would go around and talk to everybody, but mostly that's where I was. Jordan came in late, and I had made up pretty much my mind. I was going to stay a couple hours, and then once the party kind of got going for the younger folk, I was going home. So I was getting ready to leave, and then in comes this pair, and I have no idea who it is. I'm looking, I'm saying, who is that? And it was Jordan in blackface. And I didn't know Kanye West and Kim Kardashian and Jennifer was dressed as, I didn't even know who that was. All I knew was I looked and I said, what is he? I thought he was some kind of like a sailor or something, like a sailor suit. I said, what is that? I'm
going to correct you on the blackface comment.
Okay.
Because he was not dressed in blackface.
What was he dressed in?
He was dressed as a black person. There's a difference.
Okay. All right. I don't even know that.
And I'm going to tell you the difference. And this, I didn't call in WSAR and all that. But this is my first
Enlighten
time talking about this. Okay?
Good.
Blackface was what actors did because the movie industry was too racist to allow black actors to play black characters. Jordan showed up to a Halloween party.
Right.
That's all that was.
Dressed up as a character.
That's it.
So what do you call the makeup he had on?
He was dressed
He's
up.
had a Halloween costume.
He was Kanye West.
Much in
That's
the same
all.
way.
So that's not
That's
considered
it.
blackface.
No.
when
See, I didn't. That's what they
No.
were saying on WSAR
Right.
when they said that the word was anybody who attended. Oh, no, by the way, anybody who was on Thorpe and Fall River,
Racist.
was a racist.
Yeah.
By the way, Dr. Mike didn't even know I was at the party.
Can
I told him later on I was at the party, and he said, "Oh, you could have known that. I would have been a
Well-
double racist."
Well, can I say something real quick though? Wayne Rigo didn't say anything about it. It was all Dr. Mike.
Wayne Regal defended me.
Right.
He actually said, "Whoa, wait a minute.
I inboxed Wayne. I said, Wayne, you need to get this guy to shut up because he's sounding like a complete ridiculous person right now.
Jordan's costume was no different than me dressing up as a witch and putting green makeup on my face.
That's it.
I have to say this though, Nikki, when he came in and when I saw him dressed
Green
in
face.
what I thought was blackface, even
I
though
understand what
didn't
you're saying,
understand it. Maybe it's my age, but that's what I thought. When I saw it, and once I realized, it took me a while to process it. First of all, I didn't even realize it was Jordan. Okay, I was getting ready to leave, and I have to say, there was something in my gut which said, I got to get out of here. There was something in my gut that said it. Maybe that's wrong, but there was something that said, it's time to leave. You know, and I said hi to him. I acknowledged him. I said goodbye. I said, you know, I was getting ready to leave anyway, and I left because when you run for office, it's like you got to be careful with everything. You know, this is what I love so much about being elected and somebody with no intention of running for re-election. I am saying what I want to say the way I want to say it. Period. End of story. Like you, TJ. I owe nobody any money. I raised it. I spent more money than I thought it was going to. but I spent it all myself. I don't owe anybody a dime. I am going to say what I want because I don't need you to vote for me anymore. They called me. Here's what they called me. First, they started to say, you're a recaller. Oh, you're a recaller. And I would go to the neighborhood associations and they say, I can't vote for you. You're a recaller. Got into a big fight when Scott Donnelly talked about being a recaller. They attacked him and I jumped to his defense. And then people like whose votes normally would be for me, people who worked in the school system with me, well, you're a recaller. I'm not going to vote for you because when I see you, I think you're a recaller. And I said, okay, so they're going to brand me recaller. I had to somehow, in a way, back off from Jordan, who, meaning well at the mayoral debate, states publicly in front of the world that he wants me to be the superintendent at half the price and I do a better job than Meg Mail Brown. You know, I didn't see it live. My wife saw it. She almost had a heart attack. She says, come home now. Okay. I come rushing home. What's the matter? What's the matter? She says, look, he just said that he would hire you. And then on top of that, he tried to talk about the percentile data, which can be confusing. And he said it right, but he mixed up some of the numbers and it became out kind of confusing, which is easy to happen. I mean, when the director of curriculum can make it confusing, I mean, certainly Jordan hearing it from me can make it confusing. So, but now everywhere I went, I needed to get votes from my neighborhood. My strategy was I had to break even in my neighborhood. My neighborhood was falling for Sutter. Okay. And I think that they did when I looked at the wards in the precinct.
Right.
And those are my people that I had worked with for years in school committee. They knew me. And I had to explain, look, if you know me, then you know one thing about me. If somebody asks me for help, I'm going to help them. And Jordan asked me to help him explain this, and I helped him, and I would do it again. But you know what? If Sutter had asked me to explain percentiles, I would have helped him. Okay, that's what I do. And you know what? Enough people who knew me knew that. So they kind of forgave me, but I had to like back off from being a recaller.
But here's the
right
problem.
after being a recaller, I was a racist.
But here's the problem. What's
I
so
was a
silly?
racist recaller.
What's so silly about that, Ed, though, is that you were giving statistics that actually were accurate, right? So if you're given statistics that were actually accurate, why are they worried about who's using the statistics, right?
Because Jordan is a focal point of anger in my neighborhood.
Emotional response.
When I went around door to door in my
all it is.
neighborhood, here's what I heard a lot. Those recallers, they're gonna get what's coming to them. That's what I heard from a lot of people in my neighborhood. I know.
What do people want? People,
What are they gonna get?
When they say that, they're gonna get what they deserve.
I
Like
know.
what? So what you're saying is a group of people who literally come forward and show you a bunch of facts on how your government is stealing from you deserves what? What do we
An award.
deserve? Which, by the way, speaking of awards, Golden Biddies
Yeah.
It's that time.
I'm not doing it.
Oh, yeah. We're not going to do that. I don't think it's going to
And it's got nothing.
actually portrayed black people on TV rating evil form of racism, completely evil form of racism, because it didn't just go up there and portray anybody in a positive light or any kind of way. It portrayed them negatively. It made fun of them. And other people took joy in laughing at it. Entertainment.
Right.
They take their wives and their children out to watch this.
And the reason, by the way,
Right.
that Wayne Rigo supported me is one of my jobs in the school department was to handle civil rights complaints. And when there was real racism going on and
Right.
people were making statements to people and the complaints went to the superintendent's office, I had to deal with those. I had to provide in-service training to staff about racial sensitivity. I did it over and over. I put together a booklet, What Kids Say About Diversity, that basically got people in discussions about this. I mean, that was like my thing. And the final coup de grace, a story that is like amazing to me, was one year there was a famous fight that took place in the hallway. A couple of teachers were hurt. The Herald News dubbed it the brawl in the hall. Some people said it was racially motivated. Were you at the school around that time? No. The brawl in the hall, they called it.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. Anyway, there were gangs, and somebody thought that that the fight was racially motivated. Forget the fact that each gang contained diversity within it.
Mm-hmm.
There were people of color on both sides who were fighting each other because the gangs were neighborhoods. So, okay, a couple of people got hurt, but now the issue was there's racism at Durfee High School. Wayne Rigo at the time was on the school committee, and he tried to do a very noble thing. He said, I'm going to convene a meeting with the community leaders in the city, and we're going to talk about racism, have an open and frank discussion about it, because we don't want racism. And it was a nice thing to do. So he was the chair of the meeting. I was invited, and we sat at the administration building at that, where that long table is. He invited ministers, he invited principals, he invited everybody, social workers, and we started discussing this, and everyone went around the table. And it came around the table, and one person who was an interim principal, who really is clueless, and I won't say her name to embarrass her, but when it came to her, she was an interim principal of a middle school. She said, "There's no racism in my school." When she made that statement, we had an African-American gentleman who had worked in the community as a social worker who was invited. He was the only person of color at the meeting, said to her, basically, "Lady, if there's no racism in your school, you haven't got a clue. Because if there's no racism in your school, you get like the only school in the country that doesn't have racism, because there's racism everywhere." And then when he said that, the black gentleman, a minister who was white, attacked him verbally and said, "Who are you to say there's no racism? You're not in her shoes. You're not in her school. Maybe there is no racism." Now the black gentleman started to fight with the white minister, and they were going back and forth. And as this started to take place and the anger in the room was palpable, Wayne Rigo at the head of the table kind of sinking his chair like, "Oh my God,
Like, what just
I can't believe this is happening." It was so yours truly raises his hand and said, "Ladies, gentlemen, we are here to discuss whether or not a fight between 17-year-olds was racially motivated. We are the pillars of the community, and we are about to be at each other's throats over something that was stated, and we expect that 17-year-olds are going to be able to control themselves." I said, "Look what's taking place here right now." And then when I said that, things calmed down. And as soon as they calmed down, Wayne Rigo adjourned the meeting, and that was the end of that.
But it's agenda, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it just, doesn't it come down to agenda?
So
She
when
came in
Wayne,
with an agenda
yes,
of, we don't have that going on here. Regardless of the facts, regardless of the two people who were fighting.
I'm
regardless
sure
of
she
anything.
believed it.
Right.
She just had no clue.
Right, but then don't make that statement if you don't know what's going on. But all right, so I have a picture of Robert Downey
So that's
Jr.
why Wayne, I think, defended me. He knew
Right.
that I was a champion of that issue. So
I have a picture of Robert Downey Jr., right? Pretty respected actor now. I mean, pretty popular, Iron Man, all that, right? He dressed up as a black person. He painted his face black and acted out as a stereotypical 1970s, quote, jive talking, military guy, right? And he did it in a way that he was acting like he recognized that he was an actor doing this. You know what I mean? And they recognized that it was offensive, but that was the whole point of the whole comedy of it. And they laughed at how bad it was. They laughed at the horror of it. You know what I mean? And showed how advanced we are now, that we can actually do something like this and laugh at the racism and no longer give it the power that it was.
Didn't Ted Danson do that once in some kind of an award ceremony?
I honestly am not 100% sure, but I think so. But
yes, when he was going out
and
with Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah,
Goldberg.
that's right, exactly. And he got a lot of heat for that.
So when you see something like this going on, I mean, I think some people out there gave Robert Downey Jr. a problem, but it was a mocking of blackface. It wasn't blackface. Right. You know what I mean? If Jordan showed up to the party acting degradingly towards black people while he was dressed up as Kanye West, that would give it credence. Jordan, I've known Jordan since I was in 3rd grade. You've known Jordan. You babysat him. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that kind of story. No. It wasn't that kind of game that was being played. So he wasn't doing it in a degrading way, and therefore it doesn't qualify. And again, blackface itself and minstrels and all that, it was a way to degrade. They acted out in a degrading way. They followed all the watermelon fried chicken stereotypes that, you know, people still today play into, right? Jordan showed up with his wife. His wife looked amazing, right? She looked amazing. He didn't look good at all. He looked horrible. He looked
didn't
awful.
look like him.
He looked hideous.
He did not look like him at all.
I didn't know who he was.
It took me forever to figure out who the photo was of.
He looked I'm sorry. He looked more like Bill Cosby than Cosby.
Well, and you know,
who is this guy?
What I wanted to say was he used the makeup, but what if he would have went out and purchased a mask, a Kanye mask, and put the mask on? How is that any different outside of maybe he saved a couple of bucks? Maybe he saved a couple of bucks.
Let me just reply to that, please. Dr. Mike, I'm not even calling this dude a doctor anymore. Mike went up there and started saying that if he wore a mask, it would have been different.
Why?
Now, here's my issue. Again, here's my issue. If Jordan showed up to the party with a mask instead of painting his face, right? If Jordan showed up to the party with a mask and started acting a fool,
that's worse.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is.
So it's not about the appearance and the paint and the mask. Yeah. It's about the purpose. Yeah. That's what makes blackface. That's what makes it what it is. It has nothing to do with the paint and everything to do with the actions of the individual and the situation they're in. Again, Othello, Laurence Olivier played that role amazing. He didn't degrade black people by playing it, but because the movie industry was too racist to have, say, Sidney Poitier play that role, that's what made that racist.
I can't think of the actor's name. The movie was out, want to say maybe the early to mid 80s. It was, I can't think of who the actor is, but he played a college student, a white college student,
and he switched
that in order to get
a scholarship.
Some scholarship, he went for a scholarship for a black man and ended up putting black makeup on, fell in love with Dawn Chong, was in the movie, Ray Dawn Chong. I can remember her name, but for some reason I can't remember the other one's name. I think the movie might have been Soul Man. Was it Soul Man?
Oh yeah, where he dressed up as a white person. Yeah.
He dressed up as a black man. It was a white actor who dressed up as.
Soul Man. Movie, it was Soul Man.
It wasn't about blackface. The whole movie was about him changing his appearance in order to get a scholarship in college.
Yep. I don't think you can do that anymore. You can't do that in this world anymore because people get very sensitive.
Well, obviously something inside of him felt uncomfortable. And maybe it's because I never had someone explain it to me like you just explained it to me.
Right.
You know, that in today's world, I know that somebody's going to be critical. You know, I also have this kind of philosophy. I was teaching this in my class the other day. I think everybody has some kind of prejudice or bias or stereotype somewhere in the back of their minds, even if we don't believe it. We've all had someone in our lives, our families, our uncles, our parents, who have said something outrageously racist or homophobic. We've all had that. I did it with my class yesterday. I had them anonymously write down things that they had heard from parents, and then I read it to the class, and they were like horrified, some of the things they heard. Well, you know, those things are like sometimes in the back of your head. you got to recognize they're there, and then you got to let them go.
One of the biggest things that I still hear from older residents is the word colored.
Right.
I heard it. I heard it plenty of times.
But when they're saying it, they're not meaning anything by it. It's just that when they
Culture.
were growing up, that was what they referred to people of color as colored.
One of the principals at Durfee High School referred to the black students as his colored students. And you know what? He really meant
didn't mean
nothing
no
about.
harm.
I took him aside, closed the door, and I said to him, "You can't say that." And I said, "Say what?" I said, there's the man, there's the movie you're talking about.
Yes.
I said, yeah. I said, no, that's like a word that we don't use anymore. And he said, well, what word do I use? I said, black, African American, but you don't, which by the way, in my diversity booklet, I was with the black students. That was the group that I helped facilitate. We asked them 2 questions. What do you find offensive? And what do you want people to know? I was the only white face in that meeting. And I asked them, first question was, do we refer to a person of color, which is a euphemism we use now, we didn't use that in 2000, as black or African American? Mm-hmm. And some people said, I want to be preferred to be called black. And some people said, I want to be called African American. And it was their preference, basically. And there was no one way that was right or wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, that's blackface to me. That's
it's insane, right?
That's why I said
I'm on Google Images, and I just put in blackface, and it's getting real crazy over here right now. But
I'm glad you're doing it, not me.
But it is what it is, and we see it all the time. Now it's to the point where you have white face, right? This is
well, hello, the biggest movie, White Chicks, hilarious movie.
Exactly.
But I wouldn't go and say they're being racist by they're playing 2 police officers
who's that dude that's married to Mariah Carey?
Nick Cannon.
Yeah, that's Nick Cannon right here.
Yes.
Yep.
The bottom line is that this was used and has been used at an attempt to try to further a political agenda by attacking someone in any way that you can attack them. That was one of the things they used. Recall was another thing that they used. Now, from what you're saying, WSR even used the fact that Jordan commented it on my letter. Yeah. I mean, come on. I'm like, throw the book at, they're going to try to throw everything they can. I'm a vendetta. I mean, it's a political football. I mean, please. Now I'm manipulating data. Now I'm against teachers. I mean, geez, I must be the devil.
One of my friends, Matt, sent me a picture of, if you guys remember the show, the movie Short Circuit, with Johnny Five is Alive. There was a guy that played an Indian, had the Indian accent, the whole 9 yards. It was played by a white person.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know. I forgot that either.
I cannot think of his name offhand. The actor that plays in just about every one of Adam Sandler's movies. He played in the movie Animal, I believe. He can play any race, any character, and you believe him.
I see.
I can't remember. I gotta think of his name. He's the kind of bald up in the front, has the curly hair.
Oh my God, the guy that says you can do it. Is that what we're thinking about here?
Yeah,
I can't think of his name.
Adam Sandler movies. I'm gonna look.
So what's weird? I was never going to address that issue. You brought it up, so we talked about it.
I hear you.
Because in all honesty, we knew that the purpose of it wasn't to talk about race. The purpose of it wasn't to bring up, awareness and to bring people together. It was to stick you and to stick people politically. And you saw it right there. You saw it. Oh, Edward Costar post on that page. Oh, I'm not going to vote for him now. That's exactly what was said. Right. My name was brought up. I'm laughing. Right. I'm like, so when did this person become the authority on what's racist and what isn't racist? He's never had to deal with anybody doing that to them ever in his whole life. And I'm not saying that he doesn't have a position, but at least talk to people who have been through it, that were at the party, that knew what was going on.
Right.
At least talk to that person.
He didn't even know I was at the party. The next day I was at a function, and Wayne told me that he had defended me. And I said, well, who's this Dr. Mike? Now, my wife doesn't come to many functions, but she came with me to that. She wanted to see this Dr. Mike. My wife wanted a piece of him. I mean, my wife is the most timid, nice, soft-spoken lady you ever saw. But when I was trying to talk to Dr. Mike, she was like almost going out. I had to hold her back.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, she was really upset. I said, Marie, go over there and, get some hors d'oeuvres. Let me just talk to this man. It was like one PhD to another. And we had a nice talk, and that was the end of it.
He was in the basement the day of the election. Didn't say a word to me. I talked to every single other person in that building. Didn't say a word, just sat there, stood there. Didn't say
By the way, congratulations. You did a wonderful job running for office. And
Oh,
I
thanks.
have to tell you something that's really funny.
Sure.
Once you get in, you get letters from everybody. People who like
Yeah.
never talk to me.
Yeah.
You know, I won't say exactly who, but people
Right.
who ignored me,
Yeah.
who didn't even think I was like worthy of their letting them know they would have a function.
Right.
All of a sudden, I'm getting letters. Congratulations! I look forward to working with you. I got one
Yeah.
from a person who said, and I won't say who it is because I don't want to embarrass this person, and it was not a person locally that had dissed me in any way. Congratulations! I look forward to working with you. Congratulations on your election to the city council.
Nice.
I saw that. I said, I'm going to put this online and show it to TJ.
Nice.
My wife said, no, don't do that. I was going to say, see, CJ, I'm sorry. I don't know how to break this to you, man, but I got this letter. But if I did that, you'd see the name of the person, and I didn't want to embarrass that person. But I thought there's somebody who really follows forward politics real closely.
Derek wants to bring up something real quick.
Just a couple of things that are happening around the city in the next upcoming week. Of course, we have over the weekend, there was something posted on Grew Up in Fall River. I just want to read it. There'll be a huge Veterans Expo this Saturday at Bristol Community College's Fall River campus in the G Building cafeteria from 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. You have 60 vendors coming with resources from Veterans Healthcare Administration, Veterans Benefit Administration, nonprofit veteran support services, and 2 to 4 year colleges, including BCC. This event will be open to all veterans and service members in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. So if you guys want to come down, if you're a veteran, 10 to 2:30, BCC G Building. It's the cafeteria portion. Come on down, check it out. Other thing that's going on is, of course, on Thanksgiving, we do have Angels Anonymous with the Thanksgiving meal at noon, I believe from noon to 4. The VFW Hall on Bedford Street. If you know anybody that is in need and you bring them down, refer them down, we will have more than enough food for everyone. So bring them down, and that's all I got.
And that's that, my friends. I want to thank Edward Costa for coming on to the show. Edward, we're going to be on Saturdays now from 1 to 4.
Good for you.
So I don't know if you have free time on Saturdays. I know it's a pretty busy day sometimes for some people.
Well, tomorrow, speaking of current events, there is an open house at the Cusp Middle School from 1 to 3 for the new Parent Academy, which I'm going to try to attend.
Beautiful. Now, do you still do kids? The show?
You know,
the radio show?
I gave it up after during the campaign, and I've thought about redoing it, but right now I'm still reading the book, like trying to, I have to go to an 8-hour training for school committee people. So like I've got this like on, I have to attend. I've got a year to go to an 8-hour training on school. So I'm kind of like,
Well, the Saturdays at 1 are always open to you to come by and say hello or call in or whatever you want to do. And that'll be that. This is the last Friday show of City Talk, at least for now. And Saturday, 1 o'clock next week. Come on.
Peace.
Come on.
See you later, guys.
See ya. Thank you. Edward.
Thank you.